Hey, what's up guys? This is the Gutless Game Pirates, highly unlikely here, with the second part to my Breath of the Wild analysis series, on what we should keep, change, and add if they were to make a direct sequel using the same engine. This episode will go into what should be changed for the sequel, as I didn't exactly have enough time to get both parts in. Don't worry, the third part will be out within about a week. I would also like to let you guys know that I'm sorry about the delay about videos. We ran into a little bit of a snag, but just know that I'm getting back into the swing of things. Alright now, let's do this. Okay, so as much as I liked the game, the dungeons sucked. No way around that. There is nothing good to say about them in my opinion. The key to every Zelda game is their focus on an objective. Most games have an emphasis on the dungeon being the driving force to bring people back to play it. Like in A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Minish Cap, they all have great dungeons. But for others, they may have focused on their amazing side quests, like in Majora's Mask. Breath of the Wild does nada, nothing. The side quests mostly are boring and unrewarding. You get rupees. I mean, who gets a rupee is like, oh boy, I got rupees! Not a whole lot, really. No, they're not. And again, the dungeons, they're pretty bland, with the same bosses seemingly being used over and over again. Same designs, but they do have some differences in how they work. But that only amounts to so much, again, with the common similarities between the enemies in the game. I mean, they just kind of keep on using the same models, but you can use different weapons. Oh cool, so they do different attacks, but they're still the same models, and that can seem a little repetitive. And that's something that these bosses suffer with. Not to mention, they're not exactly incredibly difficult, most likely by the time you get to those dungeons. The game's only positive objective is completing shrines. Each one is so interesting and unique, and they make me want to keep on exploring to find a new one. I think it's pretty sad when 120 shrines is more fun to complete than 4 dungeons that have bosses in them. I think some of the shrines would have worked great if they were repurposed to be used in the dungeons themselves, but they really wanted to emphasize the exploration aspect. And so that's why I can't be too upset about the lack of good dungeons. I mean, they just kind of used most of the good ideas in the shrines, because they really wanted people to explore, and I will admit, it was a good driving factor. And man, I loved Breath of the Wild's open world. But I'm a simple man. I like to have some story behind it. Some of my favorite Zelda games are the ones with the best stories. Not Twilight Princess. One of my favorite things about this game is that it goes into Zelda and Link's relationship, and it's just great to see as it grows, as they don't actually start out on great terms. It's also the only game to really go into Zelda and her father's relationship, which shows she may have some daddy issues.
What are you doing out here, Zelda?
What is? It's all my fault.
You are nothing but failure.
My hope is that you'll allow me to contribute here in whatever way I can.
No more excuses, Zelda. Stop running away from your duty. Command you to focus on your training.
I already am. Don't you see? There's nothing more I can do.
I mean, wow. That's a lot to work through there, Zelda. That is cold. While I actually enjoyed the cutscenes with each of the champions, and though they did a good job of fleshing out those characters, in my opinion, most others would disagree. And I can't really blame them.
Wrong.
So now that they know what direction to go in for open world, maybe they can try focusing on the story for the next one. So again, make the next open world smaller, and just cram interesting side quests that actually have rewards, like special weapons that have different outfits, or just something more than rupees, and an actual story, and we're good. Be more like Majora's Mask then. And kind of piggybacking off that last point, instead of focusing on exploring the world this time around, The sequel should focus on exploring the characters and the players' relationships with them. I beat those bokoblins, my lady.
Oh, Link, thank you so much. If you want, feel free to talk to me anytime. Or don't. Oh, I'm sorry, I just can't talk to you right now.
So, what do you like?
Ew, what a creep. I mean, I like crickets. Yeah.
I will heal you. No matter when or how bad the wound, I hope you know that I will always protect you. Perhaps we could spend some time together.
The Legend of Zelda, the Love Simulator. Find out what it's like to date any girl of your dreams. Wait, Link, wait, no, she's too young. No, 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 no! Zelda is known for having lots of interesting characters. Insane and wacky characters. I mean, look at Tingle. Breath of the Wild lacked that. It didn't have the same depth to it. Again, their first foray into an open world, so it's understandable. For the next game, they should focus more on the story aspect. First, bring back the traditional Zelda music. A lot of Zelda tracks are memorable and fulfill their purpose of defining the moments or areas that they are played in. Midna's Lament brought about sorrow and pain as you rushed to Hyrule Castle to get her the help that she so desperately needed. Gerudo Valley in Ocarina of Time had a very strong desert vibe. That's not a great way to explain it, but it was a wonderful way of doing it. The adventure that I felt like I was in an old Western movie on my way to go explore the Great Desert Storm, or parading around in a Gerudo fortress. I mean, every corner you went around, there were more Gerudo, and you either had to sneak past them or take them out with a bow. It got its job done. What does Breath of the Wild have for music? They have Prince Sidon's theme, Varuta's theme, and Hyrule Castle's theme. Other than those songs, there weren't really a whole lot of good and memorable songs. But even the good ones are generally more like ambiance than actual music. I mean, Zora's Domain, or Rito Village, or Goron Village, they all had good songs if you really paid attention to them. So therefore, they're more of ambiance than anything else. I mean, Hyrule Field. Hyrule Field didn't even have a theme to it. It was ambiance. Now that really grinds my gears. I mean, come on. Some of the greatest songs in the Zelda series are literally from Hyrule Field. A Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, Minish Cap, any others that I'm not saying on the top of my head, they all have great themes. This has ambiance, but I understand what they were going for. They were really trying to immerse the player in the world that they were exploring. And having music just wouldn't have the same effect. And I get that. However, I do believe actual catchy music, being a staple of the Zelda series, I think that would do a whole lot more for the player's experiences than ambiance. But find a way to mix the ambiance and the music together. Like, I don't know, maybe certain times of the day it does ambiance. Alright guys, that's going to conclude this week's episode in my analysis of Breath of the Wild and the potential for a sequel. If you guys would like to see part 3, make sure to check back in another week, as I still got a little bit more to do. Part 3 will be the final part of this little 3-part series. After that, I've got a few ideas in the works, but if you guys have any specific games you guys would like to hear me talk about, let me know, as there's a lot of games coming out this October. A lot of games. I've already got a few ideas in the works. They won't be full-blown analysis videos. They'll be more like skits, kind of what you've been seeing with the part 1 or part 2. Alright guys, if you guys like this video, please like it and share it. It really means a lot to smaller channels, alright? If you like the content, feel free to subscribe. Alright guys, this is Highly Unlikely Gamer, tuning out.